The Forgotten Science of Healing. Introduction. The boundary between thought and flesh is an illusion. What appears as a body of flesh and bone is, in truth, a living canvas where the mind paints its hidden convictions. Sickness is never a random strike of fate. It is the echo of beliefs quietly impressed in the unseen chambers of the subconscious. For centuries, healers, mystics, and sages pointed to this same truth. They understood that the body is not a broken machine waiting to be repaired by chance, but a mirror that cannot help but reflect the convictions of the soul. When the belief changes, the reflection must change with it. This is not speculation. It is the immutable law of life. Thomas Troward, in his Edinburgh Lectures on mental science, gave this law its clearest voice. He declared that healing is not a miracle, nor a privilege of the few, but the science of belief. Illness, he said, is not the final word. It is only a misapplied thought. And health is not a rare blessing of fortune. It is a natural law, accessible to anyone who learns to master the inner science of belief. This audiobook is an invitation into that forgotten science. Over the next chapters, you will uncover why belief shapes your body, how healing can occur without medicine, and why thought itself is the true architect of reality. You will see why distance and time mean nothing to the subconscious mind. You will understand why some recover when doctors have given up, and why the power to heal lies not in struggle, but in conviction. We will journey step by step. First, by tracing the ancient roots of this teaching, then, by exposing the hidden ways misplaced beliefs create disease, you will be guided into actionable revelations, how to shift your inner atmosphere, how to awaken your own healing power, and even how to support the healing of others. Finally, we will close with a vision of what it means to live as a conscious co-creator with life itself, where health is not fought for, but revealed as your natural inheritance. Before we begin, it is important to state this clearly. What follows is not medical advice. This audiobook is a work of metaphysical philosophy, rooted in the ideas of Thomas Troward and other spiritual teachers. It is not a substitute for professional healthcare, diagnosis, or treatment. If you are facing a medical condition, always consult a qualified doctor or healthcare provider. What you will hear are principles of thought and belief, intended for reflection, inspiration, and personal growth. The teachings you are about to explore belong to the realm of mental science and spirituality. They are meant to expand your consciousness, not replace medical practice. Chapter 1. The creative power of belief. Every cell of my body listens to me, not to my words alone, but to the silent convictions I hold within. My heart, my blood, my immune system, even the smallest strands of DNA, are attentive to my inner direction. They take their orders, not from the outer world, but from the beliefs I choose to affirm within. This is the first principle of the science of healing. Belief is the silent architect of the body. Thomas Troward called the subconscious mind the builder of the body. He explained that what we call disease or health is not an accident, nor a cruel lottery of fate, but the natural result of impressions made upon this inner builder. The subconscious does not question, does not argue, does not discriminate between truth and falsehood. It accepts whatever the conscious mind impresses upon it with conviction, and from those impressions it fashions the tissues, the chemistry, the currents of the body. If you believe yourself to be weak, your body obeys. If you believe yourself to be whole, your body obeys. The difference is not in the body itself, but in the command center from which its instructions flow. Science is beginning to confirm what mystics and healers have always known. Consider the placebo effect. Countless medical studies reveal that when a patient believes a treatment will work, even if that treatment is nothing more than sugar, the body often responds as though it has received powerful medicine. Tumors shrink, pain recedes, and immune systems strengthen. What changed? Not the pill, but the belief. Now consider the darker mirror, the nocebo effect. When a patient believes a harmless substance will cause harm, it often does. Harmless pills produce nausea. Inert injections produce headaches. False diagnoses create real decline. Here again, the body follows belief as a faithful servant, even if belief is mistaken. Belief, then, is not wishful thinking. It is the law. It is a blueprint. It is the seed from which the body grows its conditions. Think back on your own life. How many times have you said to yourself, "I always get sick this time of year," or "Stress gives me headaches," or "This runs in my family, so it's only a matter of time before it shows up in me"? These words may seem harmless, but beneath them lies belief. And belief imprints itself on the subconscious. Slowly, steadily, the body organizes itself around these convictions. You see the pattern. A casual belief becomes a personal truth, and a personal truth becomes a physical condition. This is why Troward insisted that belief is the real cause, while symptoms are only effects. The tragedy of modern thinking is that we reverse the order. We see the symptom, and we call it the cause. We say, "I am ill because my body is weak," when in fact, the body is weak because the mind has accepted weakness as a law. This is not to say illness is imaginary. Far from it. The body's suffering is real, but its origin is in the invisible workshop of belief. Healing begins not by denying symptoms, but by denying their causation, by saying, "This condition does not rule me. My belief does." So how do we change belief? Not by mere repetition of words, but by entering into conviction. Conviction is deeper than affirmation. Conviction is the felt reality that a thing is already true. Let us take an example. Suppose a person is plagued by chronic fatigue. They wake each morning with the belief, "My body has no energy." The subconscious accepts this as fact and organizes the chemistry of the body to match. Healing begins the moment the belief is withdrawn and replaced by its opposite. I am a channel of life itself. Energy flows through me. At first, this may feel false. The body still aches. The tiredness remains. But if the statement is held, not as a wish, but as a conviction, if one lives in it, breathes it, acts as if it were already true, then the subconscious begins to reorganize. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, energy stirs. The body responds to the new command. This is not fantasy. This is not self-deception. It is the law. Just as the gardener knows that planting a seed today does not produce a tree tomorrow, so too the student of mental science knows that the seed of belief takes time to grow. The body is soil, the mind is seed, and belief is the hidden life force that makes the unseen into the seen. Modern neuroscience calls this neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself in response to thought and belief. Immunologists speak of psychoneuroimmunology, the study of how thoughts and emotions alter immune responses. But long before these terms existed, healers knew the secret. The mind writes its story into the flesh. You may have heard of spontaneous remission, where cancers vanish without explanation or chronic conditions dissolve overnight. Doctors are baffled, but the law is simple. A belief has shifted. A conviction of health has replaced the conviction of decline, and the body, that faithful servant, obeys. Even in your daily life, you have felt it. A day of joy and confidence fills you with energy, your body light and strong. A day of worry and despair drains you, weakens you, makes you sick. Nothing outward changed, only the inner conviction, yet the whole body responded. The science of belief and healing begins here, by recognizing that belief is not a passive thought, but an active law. It is the silent power shaping your body in every moment. To change belief is to change life. The question you must ask yourself is this: what beliefs am I planting in the soil of my subconscious? Are they beliefs of weakness, decline, or limitation, or are they beliefs of health, wholeness, and vitality? Whatever you plant, the body will grow. For the subconscious mind, like the earth itself, never says no. It only brings forth what you have sown. And so the path of healing does not begin with medicine or ritual or outer condition. It begins in the quiet sanctuary of thought, with a choice, a conviction, a belief. Choose wisely, and you will discover what Troward called the natural law of healing, a law as certain as gravity, as constant as sunrise. The law is that what you believe, with conviction, the body must obey. But if belief is the cause, then what of illness? Why do bodies suffer? Why do diseases arise at all? To answer that, we must explore the great misunderstanding of humanity, our habit of mistaking conditions for causes. This is the trap that holds millions in bondage to sickness, and it is the next secret we must unfold. Chapter 2. Illness as a misplaced cause. There is a dangerous mistake humanity has repeated for centuries, a mistake so subtle that it feels natural, almost logical. And yet this mistake has chained entire generations to suffering. The mistake is this: we confuse conditions with causes. We see the symptom and we call it the source. We see the shadow and we mistake it for the fire that casts it. Illness then becomes a tyrant, not because it is real power, but because we hand it the crown of causation. Thomas Troward insisted, disease is not a primary cause, it is only an effect, the outpicturing of a deeper belief. The tragedy is that once a condition appears in the body, we give it authority, and by believing it to be the root, we feed it more life. Imagine a candle in a dark room. When the flame burns, light fills the space. When the flame is removed, darkness appears. Is darkness a cause? Number. Darkness is the absence of light. It has no substance of its own. It cannot be lit. It cannot be measured. It cannot be poured into a jar. It is not a thing, but the lack of a thing. In the same way, illness is not a self-sustaining power. It is the absence of a correct belief in health. It is the shadow cast when we withdraw our conviction from wholeness and place it instead on limitation, fear, or despair. But what happens when we treat the shadow as though it were fire? We fight it endlessly, swatting at darkness, terrified of its presence, never realizing that to end it, one need only rekindle the flame. This is the core of misplaced cause. We fight the condition while ignoring the belief that gave it form. Think of the way we talk about sickness. We say, "This flu is going around. I'm bound to catch it." Cancer runs in my family. It's only a matter of time. Stress kills me. I always get sick when I'm under pressure. Notice the hidden assumption. Each statement places causation outside the self, in conditions, heredity, or environment. Each statement is an act of surrender. The subconscious hears these words as law, accepts them without question, and begins to build the body accordingly. This is the tragedy Troward described, that humanity lives as prisoners of secondary causes. We allow appearances to dictate belief, instead of allowing belief to dictate appearances. We say, "I am ill because of this condition," instead of, "This condition exists because of what I have believed." The moment you reverse this order, healing begins. To heal is to reclaim causation. The condition is not denied, it is reclassified. Instead of seeing illness as a tyrant, see it as a messenger. It tells you where your belief has strayed, where you have given power to fear instead of life. Ask yourself, what belief has this condition been feeding on? A belief in fragility, a belief in decline with age, a belief in punishment or unworthiness? Whatever the answer, know this. When belief shifts, the condition dissolves. It cannot remain once its root is withdrawn. This is why mental healing does not focus on symptoms. The healer does not obsess over the tumor, the fever, the weakness. Instead, the healer plants a new conviction. Health is the only reality. Spirit cannot be sick. The body is the servant of the spirit, and the spirit is whole. When the subconscious accepts this seed, the condition loses its foundation. The shadow vanishes, not because it was fought, but because light returned. Consider the findings of modern medicine. Researchers have long observed that two patients exposed to the same virus may respond in completely different ways. One falls gravely ill, the other barely notices. The difference is not only in immune function, but in belief. Studies in psychoneuroimmunology show that stress, fear, and hopelessness weaken immune response, while optimism and resilience strengthen it. What science now measures in immune cells, Troward foresaw in principle. Belief is the cause, condition is the effect. The immune system is the servant of the mind's conviction. This is why miracles of healing are often preceded by a shift in consciousness, a sudden sense of peace, a deep forgiveness, a release of fear. The body follows. If you take nothing else from this chapter, take this. The condition is not the cause. Do not give power to the shadow. Do not fight the reflection while ignoring the face that casts it. Your task is not to wrestle with symptoms, but to seat yourself once again at the throne of causation. Withdraw belief from illness, and illness starves. Impress belief in health, and health flourishes. The body is a mirror. Change the image in the mind, and the reflection must change. But how, you may ask, do we make this change of belief? How do we move from fear of illness to conviction of health? The answer lies not in struggle, but in atmosphere. In creating an inner climate where health is the natural air we breathe. This is the next step in our journey. The discovery that healing is not about fighting sickness at all, but about cultivating a new mental atmosphere. Chapter 3. Healing as a change of mental atmosphere. Step into a greenhouse. The air is warm, moist, alive. You notice how the plants flourish here, their colors vibrant, their leaves reaching eagerly toward the light. Outside, the air may be harsh, dry winds, biting cold, sudden storms. But here, inside, the atmosphere is carefully tended. Seeds that would wither outside grow effortlessly here. Healing works the same way. It is not about forcing the seed to grow. It is about changing the atmosphere in which it lives. Thomas Troward described this inner climate as the mental atmosphere. When the mind is filled with fear, doubt, and despair, the body reflects a withered garden. When the mind breathes conviction, peace, and faith, the body responds like plants in a greenhouse, unfolding its hidden vitality. Most of us approach healing the wrong way. We fight symptoms with anxious energy. We repeat affirmations as if they were magic spells, hoping repetition alone will break the spell of disease. But beneath all this effort, the subconscious asks one question: what is the atmosphere? If the atmosphere is fear, then affirmations are only words floating in stormy air. If the atmosphere is conviction, then even the simplest thought, "I am whole," becomes a living seed, pregnant with power. Atmosphere is not about what you say. It is about the tone of your inner being. It is the vibration that saturates you when words are silent. Think of someone you know who always seems calm, centered, and strong. When you enter their presence, you feel lifted, even before they speak. That is the atmosphere. And it is this quality that heals, not mere statements, but the steady climate of belief in which your body rests. Consider for a moment, what atmosphere do you carry within yourself? When you wake in the morning, what is the first thought that fills the air of your mind? Today will be hard. I'm always tired. My body is fragile. Or is it something different? Many people do not realize that they live in an atmosphere of hidden fear, a fear of aging, a fear of relapse, a fear of the next diagnosis. And because the subconscious breathes in this atmosphere day and night, it builds the body accordingly. Troward warned that healing cannot occur in an atmosphere of anxiety. The soil cannot bear fruit if poisoned. To change the condition, you must first change the climate. So how do we shift this invisible climate? Not by force, but by alignment. Healing is not a struggle against sickness. It is a return to the natural state of life. Here is the formula. Withdraw belief from the condition. Say within yourself, this illness is not a cause. It has no power of its own. It is only an effect. Breathe in the reality of health. Speak quietly, not with desperation, but with conviction. Health is my nature. Life flows through me now. Rest in the conviction. Do not strain. Rest. Just as the seed rests in the soil, knowing the sun and rain will come. Rest in the certainty that the law of life is at work. This resting conviction is the atmosphere, and the body responds to it more surely than to any medicine. There is a story, told quietly in healing circles, of a man who had been given months to live. Doctors had exhausted their methods. His family prepared for the farewell. Yet something shifted in him. Instead of despair, he entered peace. He began to say, not with desperation, but with quiet joy, life is mine. Each breath is a gift. I am not fighting for survival. I am living now. This simple change of atmosphere transformed him. Within weeks, energy returned. The doctors called it spontaneous remission. He called it belief. Science may struggle to explain it, but the principle is simple. The subconscious, no longer fed by fear, reorganized the body in harmony with life. Remember the greenhouse. The seed does not strain to grow. The gardener does not scream at it to sprout. Growth happens naturally when the atmosphere is right. So it is with you. Your task is not to fight your body, nor to fear your symptoms, nor to endlessly repeat words without conviction. Your task is to create a greenhouse within yourself, a steady climate of faith, peace, and assurance. In that atmosphere, the subconscious works silently, rebuilding cells, balancing systems, restoring vitality. The science of belief and healing is not about fighting shadows. It is about filling the air of your inner world with light. Do this, and healing becomes as natural as the sunrise. But what of those who cannot yet create this atmosphere on their own? What of those who are crushed by fear, unable to believe in health? Here enters the role of the healer, not to dominate another's mind, but to lend the conviction of health until the patient can stand in it themselves. This is the next secret, the sacred role of the healer and the law of rapport that makes healing flow between souls. Chapter 4. The Role of the Healer. Picture 2 tuning forks placed side by side. Strike one, and the other begins to vibrate in resonance, though it was never touched. Invisible waves carry the note across the air, and the silent fork begins to sing the same tone. Healing works in this same mysterious way. The healer is not a magician imposing will upon another. The healer is a tuning fork, vibrating with such conviction of life and health that the patient's mind, even without effort, begins to resonate with that same frequency. This is the role of the healer, to lend belief where belief is weak, to carry conviction where despair has settled, to radiate health until the patient remembers their own. Thomas Troward wrote that effective healing requires rapport, the dissolving of barriers between healer and patient. Rapport is not domination. It is not hypnosis in the crude sense of control. It is sympathy in the original meaning of the word, sim, together, and pathos, feeling. It is the shared atmosphere of conviction. When the healer enters a state of certainty, not strain, not effort, but calm assurance, the patient's subconscious opens. In that openness, suggestions of health are impressed, not as foreign commands, but as truths the patient already recognizes deep within. This is why healers throughout history have been described as radiant, peaceful, filled with quiet authority. Their presence alone becomes medicine. The subconscious of the patient, sensing this atmosphere, accepts health as real. But here lies a danger. If rapport is misused, if the healer seeks control rather than empowerment, the practice becomes a form of domination. Troward warned that mental science must never be used to subjugate another's individuality. The purpose of healing is to strengthen the selfhood of the patient, not to weaken it. There are those who have tried to use mental power for selfish gain, to manipulate minds, to impress fear or dependence. Such attempts may bring temporary results, but they violate universal law, and the reaction is always destructive. The healer who uses power for control corrodes their own soul. The true healer knows, I do not give health. I remind the patient of the health that was theirs all along. What if no healer is present? What if you are alone, struggling with belief, unable to generate conviction? The principle remains the same. Create rapport with yourself. Treat your subconscious as a patient. Speak to it with calm assurance. Withdraw fear. Impress health. Not with frantic repetition, but with the same gentle tone a parent uses to calm a frightened child. Say to yourself, my body is listening, and I now give it the truth. Health is my nature. Life flows through me effortlessly. Spirit cannot be sick, and I am spirit. Sit quietly, as if conversing with an old friend. This is self-healing, establishing rapport between your conscious conviction and your subconscious receptivity. And if despair rises, remember the tuning forks. Every act of conviction, however small, sets the inner instrument vibrating. Keep striking the note of health, and eventually, the whole being resonates. One of the most remarkable principles Troward emphasized is that the subconscious is not bound by time or space. Healing can occur at a distance. A healer in one city may project conviction, and the patient in another place feels the effect. Healing can occur in sleep when the conscious defenses are quiet and the subconscious is most receptive. Modern studies on prayer, distant intention, and even heart coherence experiments confirm this strange truth. Minds influence minds across invisible fields. What Troward called rapport, we might today call resonance. This means healing is not limited by the body's location or by waking awareness. It is a law of consciousness itself. The role of the healer, then, is not to claim power, but to embody truth. To be so anchored in health, in life, in spirit, that their very presence becomes an atmosphere of renewal. And you, listener, are not excluded. You may serve as healer to yourself, to your loved ones, to anyone willing to receive. You need not force. You need not dominate. You need only hold the conviction of health so deeply that others, standing near you, cannot help but resonate with it. This is the science of belief in action. Healing is not magic, but law. And the healer is not a master, but a servant of that law, a servant of life itself. But if healing is not bound by the body, if it can reach across distance and time, what does this reveal about the subconscious mind itself? The next chapter will take us deeper into the mystery, the timeless, spaceless nature of the subconscious, and why healing can occur instantly, silently, and from afar. Chapter 5. Distance, Time, and the Subconscious. Picture yourself standing at night on the shore of a huge ocean. Whether you are here or 1,000 miles away, the waves will always flow in with the same beat. Your feet are pulled by the same tide that pulls at distant coastlines. Everywhere you touch the sea, you touch the entire body. This ocean represents the subconscious mind. What we refer to as my subconscious and yours are currents of a single, depthless body rather than distinct seas. Furthermore, because it is one, it cannot be separated by time, space, or walls. This is why healing can occur from afar. This is why prayers whispered in one country can bring peace to a patient in another. This is why impressions given during sleep can transform the body on waking. The subconscious mind, being universal, is everywhere at once. Troward insisted that the subconscious does not operate in the dimension of time. To the conscious mind, time is linear, yesterday, today, tomorrow. To the subconscious, all is now. It receives conviction as an immediate reality. If you say, "One day I will be healed," the subconscious does not respond. It waits. If you say, "I am whole now," the subconscious accepts this as fact and begins to organize conditions accordingly. This is why healing requires not hope in the future, but conviction in the present. The subconscious cannot act on tomorrow. It acts only now, nor does it recognize space. A suggestion of health impressed in one place is just as effective in another. To the subconscious, there is no here and there. There is only unity. Think of how much suffering comes from forgetting this truth. We say, "The doctor is far away, so help cannot reach me. I must wait months for this treatment to work. Perhaps in time, things will improve." But all these thoughts imprison us in the chains of time and space. They belong to the conscious mind, not the subconscious. The subconscious is already in contact with the universal. It knows no delay. It knows no distance. The trigger of despair comes when we measure healing by the clock or by the mile. But the moment we let go of these illusions, healing can appear suddenly, inexplicably, as though the laws of matter had been bypassed. In truth, it is not the law of matter that has been broken, but the law of mind that has been remembered. So how can you, as a student of healing, work with this timeless, spaceless mind? First, impress health in the present tense. Always affirm, "I am whole now, health is my nature now." Even if symptoms remain, speak to the subconscious as if health were already real, for to it, the present is the only reality. Second, release concern for distance. If you wish to send healing to another, imagine them before you. Speak conviction into the image. You are whole. Life flows through you now. The subconscious does not ask where they are. It delivers the impression through the universal field. Third, use the hours of sleep. Before resting, impress upon your mind the idea of perfect health. Say quietly, "As I sleep, life renews me. I wake whole. In sleep, resistance dissolves, and the subconscious breathes in the suggestion without argument. Many awaken transformed simply because their night was filled with healing conviction instead of fear. Consider the countless testimonies of patients who were prayed for at a distance. Some did not even know prayers were being offered, and yet, in those hours, a shift occurred. Pain lessened, fevers broke, vitality returned. Skeptics call it a coincidence. But the student of mental science knows the subconscious is universal. To touch one part of the ocean is to set ripples moving through the whole. Even modern experiments on distant intention have shown measurable effects. Plants grow differently, random number generators shift, and patients recover more quickly when others hold them in thought. The old truth shines again under new language. Distance does not exist for the mind. The great secret of healing, then, is to live in the eternal now. To impress health as present, not postponed. To breathe conviction as reality, not hope. To recognize that in the depths of the subconscious there is no waiting, no distance, no separation. You are never cut off from the power of life. The whole ocean is always present beneath your feet. At every moment, you can step into it, draw from it, and let its currents renew you. Healing is not about time, it is about realization. The instant belief shifts, the condition begins to dissolve. The instant you stop feeding illness with the illusion of causation, health begins to return. This is why some healings are called instantaneous. They are not sudden miracles, but sudden recognitions of what was always true. Life is whole, and you are part of it. But there is still one more layer. If healing is the restoration of belief, if it is the recognition of wholeness beyond time and space, then what is its deepest essence? Troward answered with one word: alignment. Healing is not only physical renewal, it is the harmony of body, soul, and spirit with the supreme forces of love and beauty. This final revelation will carry us beyond mere recovery into true transformation. Chapter 6. Healing as Spiritual Alignment. All healing, no matter how physical it may seem, is in truth a spiritual act. When flesh is restored, when pain dissolves, when vitality returns, it is not simply chemistry correcting itself. It is the spirit reasserting its natural law. Thomas Troward declared that the supreme spirit of life can have no intention toward us, but that we might have life, and that we might have it more abundantly. Behind every healing, behind every return to wholeness, there is the movement of love. Love, expressed through beauty, is the true current of creation, and healing is simply the removal of whatever has blocked that current. The body is not an enemy. It is the servant of the soul, yet it is not the highest expression of who we are. Healing of the body is only the beginning. The deeper purpose is alignment, the harmony of body, soul, and spirit with the universal currents of love and beauty. When you gaze at a sunset and feel peace, when music stirs your heart until tears rise, when compassion wells up and you act in kindness, in these moments you are aligned with the Spirit. And in that alignment, health flows effortlessly, stress vanishes, cells regenerate, energy rises. True healing, then, is not merely the removal of symptoms, it is the restoration of harmony with the Spirit that is always seeking to flow through us. Illness in this light is not punishment, it is misalignment. It is what happens when fear, resentment, or despair cloud the channel through which life would flow. Like a river dammed by debris, the water of spirit still presses behind, but it cannot pass freely. Remove the obstruction and the river rushes forward, bringing life back to the valley. So too with us. The moment belief shifts, the debris is cleared. Love flows again. Beauty shines again. Healing is not forced, it is revealed. How do we live in this alignment? The answer is simpler than we imagine. Choose love. Every time you choose forgiveness instead of bitterness, compassion instead of judgment, peace instead of anxiety, you align with the current of spirit. Dwell in beauty. Surround yourself with what uplifts: nature, art, music, silence. These are not luxuries, they are medicines, aligning your soul with the creative vibration of the universe. Affirm spirit. Say quietly, I am one with the life that cannot be sick, cannot be broken, cannot be diminished. Health is my birthright, for I am spirit clothed in form. As this becomes your atmosphere, the body reflects it. Stress yields to calm. Disorder yields to harmony. The subconscious, flooded with conviction of life, reorganizes every cell to match. History tells of countless mystics and saints who radiated health simply by their presence. They healed not by technique, but by alignment. Their very being was in harmony with the Supreme Spirit. Standing near them, others felt uplifted, renewed, sometimes instantly healed. This is not beyond you. Alignment is not reserved for saints. It is the destiny of every soul. The more you align with love and beauty, the more you discover that healing is not an event, but a way of living. The highest healing is not the curing of a disease, it is the recognition of who you are, a being of spirit, inseparable from the infinite, eternally alive in the ocean of consciousness. When you know this, the fear of illness dissolves. The obsession with symptoms fades, and you live in the radiant freedom of being whole now. Healing, then, is not something you achieve. It is something you remember. Chapter 7. The Modern Echo. In quiet hospital rooms, something ancient happens under fluorescent light. A patient receives a tablet with no active drug, and yet pain eases, heart rate steadies, and sleep returns. In research labs, a sentence spoken with authority reshapes outcomes more reliably than chemistry alone. Monitors blink, graphs rise and fall, and behind the numbers, a subtle force moves. Expectation becoming physiology, meaning becoming measurable change. The old wisdom walks in modern shoes, and the body obeys the story it believes. Call it the placebo effect, if you like, but that phrase barely touches the depth of what is being measured. Expectation influences pain pathways and the release of the body's own analgesics. Attention alters the brain's predictive models of sensation. Emotion modulates inflammatory cascades and immune readiness. Repeated thought patterns create durable neural pathways. What we name habit in the mind becomes pattern in the brain. Stressful meanings upregulate certain gene expression profiles. States of safety and trust downregulate them. The message is consistent across disciplines. Belief and meaning are biological events. Psychology names the healing power of positive expectation. Neuroscience observes the brain's plasticity, circuits rewiring to match what the mind rehearses. Psychoneuroimmunology traces the handshake between thought, nervous system, and immune response. Epigenetics maps how the environment and inner state can tip the switches that tune the cellular orchestra. The heart's rhythms, the breath's cadence, the tone of the vagus nerve, all of it forms a chorus taking cues from the conductor we rarely see, the convictions we hold. If Troward called this conductor the subjective mind, modern science calls it by many names: expectancy, predictive coding, top-down modulation, interoception. Different languages, one recognition. The body is not a passive object. It is an active listener. Here is where the mirror turns toward you. How many outcomes in your life have been quietly scripted by your expectations before the first symptom appeared? How often has a diagnosis, meant to inform, become an identity that writes tomorrow's page before you live it? Words spoken by an expert can act like seeds. If you water them with fear, they sprout thorns. This is the nocebo, the dark twin of placebo, where belief harms because we rehearsed the worst and called it realism. Notice the loop. A troubling sensation arises. The mind predicts danger. The body mobilizes. Tension amplifies sensation. The prediction is confirmed. Round we go. What breaks the loop is not denial, but a new prediction rooted in trust. This body is adaptable. This system learns. This moment can change. When meaning changes, physiology has permission to follow. What if the phrases you repeat, "I never sleep," "I always get sick," "this will never improve," are not harmless commentary, but instructions to the most obedient student you will ever teach? Your own biology. If that is true, continuing to tell those stories is not honesty. It is training. The modern echo of Troward's law is practical. It hands you levers you can use without strain or superstition: expectation, attention, emotion, language, and ritual. 5 doors into the same room where belief lives. Expectation. Begin each day by setting a quiet, specific expectation that your system can believe. Not grandiose, not desperate, credible. Today, my body learns a little more ease. Speak it once, then act as if it were already underway. Attention. Sensations grow where attention stares. When discomfort arises, widen the frame. Include the breath, the weight of your feet, the sounds in the room. Let awareness become spacious enough that no single sensation monopolizes your reality. Spacious attention is permission for change. Emotion. The nervous system listens to felt safety. Create it deliberately. Soften your jaw. Lengthen your exhale. Place a hand over your chest and say, "Here I am. I'm safe enough to learn." Do this for 60 seconds, not as a trick, but as a signal your body understands. Language. Upgrade your inner script. Replace absolute predictions with learning language. Not "I can't," but "I'm learning." Not "nothing works," but "I'm noticing what helps." The subconscious takes language literally. Give it phrases it can build on. Ritual. Wrap helpful actions in meaning. A glass of water becomes a cue. I return to flow. A walk becomes, I rehearse forward motion. Medication, therapy, rest. Mark them with a sentence of trust. Ritual is how the mind tells the body that this matters in a good way. Integrate these levers with whatever care you are receiving. This is not a rejection of medicine. It is the soil in which medicine works better. You are not choosing between belief and biology. You are choosing to let belief become biology's ally. Look closely. The ancient and the modern are not in conflict. They are mirrors facing the same truth from 2 sides. The mystic says, "As within, so without." The researcher says, "Top-down signals shape bottom-up processing." The healer says, "Conviction heals." The clinician says, "Expectation modulates outcome." The poetry and the data are pointing to the same door. Troward's voice reaches through a century, and the instruments now nod in reply. The body's invisible architect, call it the subjective mind, call it predictive brain, call it integrated psychobiology, draws its plans from the meanings you repeat. This is not a mystical escape from reality. It is participation in it. The law remains. When belief changes, the reflection follows.
So let your modern rituals be ancient in spirit. Breathe with intention, speak with care, expect what helps. Give your nervous system reasons to trust you. Let every small act of kindness toward your body be a sentence in a new story, a story that your cells can read. You have heard the echo in the lab and the whisper in the temple, and they harmonize. Now carry this harmony into your next breath. The conclusion is not an ending, it is a turning of the key. From this moment on, let conviction become your climate. The law will do the rest.
Chapter 8. The Practical Formula. Every great law, no matter how vast, must eventually reveal a doorway we can walk through. The science of belief is no exception. We have spoken of spirit and matter, of subconscious law, of atmosphere and alignment. But here, the path becomes simple. Here, Troward offers what can only be called a formula, not a formula of superstition, but of sequence. A way of thinking, feeling, and believing that unlocks the natural flow of health. Healing is not random, it is a rhythm. And when you enter that rhythm, the body responds as faithfully as the earth responds to rain. Why a formula? Because the mind, left to itself, often wanders in fear. When symptoms rise, the imagination spirals. What if it grows worse? What if this never ends? What if I am powerless? In this storm, belief scatters. The subconscious, obedient as always, takes these scattered impressions and reproduces them in the body. But when the mind follows a deliberate sequence, step by step, it finds order. And order is healing. Just as a musician follows scales to bring harmony, or a builder follows plans to raise a house, so the healer follows this formula to restore wholeness. Most people live in the reverse order. They see illness as a cause instead of a condition. They feed it belief by repeating, "I am sick, I am broken, I am doomed." They struggle against it, fight it with anxiety, and in doing so, strengthen the very root they long to uproot. This formula begins by breaking that cycle. It begins by stripping illness of its false crown and restoring belief to its rightful throne. Here is the sequence, spoken as living truth. Step 1. Recognize illness as a secondary condition. Illness has no power of its own. It is not a cause, but only an effect, a shadow cast by belief. Say within, "This condition is not primary. It does not rule me. Spirit alone is cause, and spirit is whole." Step 2. Withdraw belief from the condition. Stop feeding it with fear, with constant attention, with rehearsed stories of decline. See it as false, powerless, temporary. Like darkness, it cannot exist once light is restored. Step 3. Establish conviction in health. Impress upon the subconscious the idea that health is the only reality. Speak with quiet assurance. Health is my nature. I am life expressing as vitality. I am whole now. Conviction is not effort. It is rest in truth. Step 4. Sustain belief with calm assurance. Do not struggle. Do not force. The seed does not strain to sprout. It rests in soil and growth comes. Your work is to sustain a peaceful conviction, to live as if health were already unfolding, because it is. Step 5. Affirm individuality. If you are healing another, never dominate their will. Always affirm their individuality, their spiritual selfhood, their power to receive life. If you are healing yourself, affirm your own sacred identity. I am not sick. I am spirit. Healing strengthens the self. It never enslaves it. Step 6. Allow the subconscious to work. Let go. Trust the law of life to do its part. The subconscious is tireless, exact, and obedient. Once conviction is planted, it will reorganize the body accordingly. Your task is not to dig up the seed, but to rest in assurance that the soil of the mind will bring it to harvest. Picture a woman plagued by chronic pain. For years she fought the condition, calling it her enemy, rehearsing daily the story of how much she suffered. Each day her subconscious obeyed, faithfully reproducing what it was told, but one day she shifted. She saw the pain not as cause, but as condition. She withdrew belief from it, ceased to crown it with authority. Instead, she affirmed, "My nature is health. My life is whole. My spirit cannot be broken." She sustained this belief with quiet assurance, refusing to panic when symptoms remained. She rested in the law of life. Slowly, the atmosphere within her shifted. The subconscious, now fed by conviction of health, began its silent work. Weeks later, the pain dissolved. Her story changed, not because she fought the condition, but because she withdrew belief from it and planted a new seed. This is the formula: simple, exact, unchanging. Recognize, withdraw, establish, sustain, affirm, allow. 6 movements, 1 rhythm. Each step flows into the next, creating the atmosphere in which healing cannot help but arise. Do not be deceived by its simplicity. The greatest laws are always simple. Gravity pulls, light shines, seeds grow. So too with belief, it creates. Withdraw belief from sickness, and sickness withers. Impress belief in health, and health must bloom. And here our journey circles back to its beginning. From spirit to matter, from thought to form, from belief to healing. You have seen the law, you have walked the steps, and now the question remains: will you live as one who reacts to shadows, or as one who commands the light? The answer to that question is the conclusion of our journey. Epilogue: Awakening the healer within. And so we close our journey. We have seen that belief is the true cause, and the body is the effect. That illness arises when we mistake conditions for causes. That healing comes not by struggle, but by changing the atmosphere of the mind. That the healer lends belief until the patient can believe for themselves. The subconscious is timeless, spaceless, and universal, allowing healing to reach across distance and time. And finally, that true healing is spiritual alignment, the harmony of body, soul, and spirit with the supreme currents of love and beauty. The question that remains is simple. What will you believe? For the law is always working. Your subconscious is always listening. Every thought is a seed. Every conviction is a command. Every belief is an architect shaping the temple of your body and the landscape of your life. Do not fight shadows. Do not grant causation to conditions. Instead, dwell in the truth, that health is your nature, that life is abundant, that spirit cannot be sick. Breathe this truth until it becomes your atmosphere. Live in it until it becomes your song. And when you do, you will find that the science of belief and healing is not a mystery at all. It is the most natural law in the universe, that as you believe, so shall it be. Before we finish, let me share something that can completely change the way you live your daily life. If you've ever set goals, got excited, and then watched them slowly fade away, it's not because you lack motivation or discipline. It's simply because you've been trying to work against your brain instead of with it. That's why I created The Science of Intentional Living, a simple, science-backed guide that installs a 3-step system for building habits and focus that actually last. Here's how it works. Step 1. Read just 1 page each morning. Step 2. Apply the 1-1-1 method. 1 goal, 1 action, 1 5-minute rewire. Step 3. Let momentum compound and watch your life shift in 30 days. And when you get your copy, you'll also receive 3 powerful bonuses: the Neural Rewiring Toolkit, to break old patterns. The Focus Mastery Protocol, to drop into deep concentration on demand. The Achievement Accelerator Workbook, so you always know exactly what to do next. If you're tired of chasing hacks and systems that don't stick, this is the shift you've been waiting for. Find the link in the video description.